Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night Talking Town extra time. Season is nearly over. This is sad but exciting, all in the same sentence. The end can't come quick enough, I guess, we think, for changes, for transfers. But it's always disappointing when another season ends. How have you rated this season? Lots of talk from contributors on the platform. Disappointing, disastrous, just to steal a couple of phrases. How have you guys and girls felt and seen about it? Let's know in the chat. I've got a rough idea where tonight's show may go, but as always, I have really no idea because it's all down to you wonderful people in the live chat, the live link, the contributors. And we will simply go from there. We've got a busy chat. We've got Josh Russell, welcome in Josh Russell, YouTube member, Lee Brown, Kevin, Mike, Neil, and get your comments in. Welcome to your Monday night show. Before I go any further, can I very quickly just say a huge thank you to all of our Talking Town Fifth Standers on Ko-Fi or our YouTube members. You wonderful people make the shows possible. And we do have designer George Nunn back from his holidays. So if your name isn't on this board, or these boards rather, and it should be, let me know, because now I've got George back, and I can stop blaming his holiday for my tardiness, because you're going to see him in 5 minutes, so that excuse is going to evaporate. So please do let me know. But no, honestly, a huge thank you. Links to support us is in the chat. It's a comment, pinned comments to the show, one-off, monthly, whatever you do, however you do it. I truly appreciate it. And a huge hello and good evening to the Durrance family. I bumped into one of the Durrant members in Tesco Cop Doc this morning. It was a pleasure to meet with you. And yeah, thank you very much for saying hello. Right, we've mentioned him. Let's go ahead and bring him in while I also link our second contributor. See, tardy. End of the season vibes, ladies and gentlemen. Equally, if you've got a QR code, we have also organised a little QR. Just scan it and it will take you to the donation page. Right. Let's go ahead and bring in ITK George Nunn. I say ITK George Nunn because obviously you've been on a wonderful holiday.
I was going to get in the intro.
You will do next season. Come on, George. You know the vibe. We don't go in season changes, always end the season. But let's just discuss this for a moment, shall we? George Nunn, Mark Detmer, Mark Steed, and the families. It's not every day you go on holiday and start mixing with owners of football clubs. What's next? Yachts?
I'd go on a yacht if I was invited to a yacht. That would be great.
So, what's the story behind that wonderful picture, Mr. Nunn?
There's no story there. So my girlfriend's family live in Mesa, which is just outside Phoenix, between Phoenix and Wild Horse Pass, pretty much, which is where Phoenix Rising plays. So, yeah, I've been pretty active on the socials since I got excited about the guys taking over, because obviously the link with Phoenix Rising. And, yeah, I've just through luck, I happened to be in Phoenix and had a chat with Mark Steed, and he was at the game, and we went and met Mark Detmer at halftime and hung out for 25 minutes, and it was great.
It's not every day. Colin Plum said he'd rather be at Crewe. Colin Plum will be joining us later in the show.
I think there was actually more people at Phoenix at Phoenix Rising game than there was at Crewe.
Wow, well there you go. It says it all, doesn't it? But Crewe is not. Crewe's a League Two side, so we ain't got to worry about them from this point on for another couple of years, hopefully longer term. But Colin will be joining us later in the show to discuss some 91-92 anniversary memories of a team that was a fantastic team. We've got Romeo Zondervan and Craig Forrest coming up on the platform in a special talk to. So lots to it to enjoy there. But it's not every day you go on holiday and you get a picture like that sent back to me. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I have to ask, because there is some rumours, mostly started by me, that you were so incensed that you couldn't get your ticket money back from the game you missed at home to Portsmouth, that you took it not to the header ticketing, not to Mark Ashton, you took it to the very top. Can you confirm or deny those rumours, Mr.
I forgot all about that, to be honest with you.
My credit card hasn't.
That didn't even come up. That didn't even come up. But no, honestly, it was really amazing. As I said on Twitter, I feel privileged to have had that opportunity, and yeah, it was great. There was no secrets exchanged. There was no favors exchanged. We were at the game with the family, and funnily enough, Mark Steed was sat a few rows behind us and a few seats across in his season ticket seat. And at half time, he was kind enough to take us around and introduce us to Mr. Detmer and family. And yep, Mr. Detmer had the photo taken and had to send it to me, and with his permission, I shared it. So with their permission, I shared it. So yeah, nothing ITK about it. Yeah, just it was.
If you start dropping nuggets, open your ears. Josh Russell has some ITK news. Well, Josh, don't you? You can't say that, Josh, without sharing it. Do share. Lewis Robinson, evening, everyone. Trying not to read too much into recent results. I'll ask you about this in a very moment, Josh. I've got the form table for you, because since you left the country and returned,
it's not my fault.
Shit went down. Shit got real. It's gone bit Pete Tong. By the way, Pete Tong, fantastic underrated Radio 1 DJ. Just going to say that right now. Come July, August, we're all starting a level playing field, and McKenna will have plenty of time to address the flaws. Keep the faith. Nick Muller, I like Crewe. Easy ground to get to. Loads of pubs. Great chip shop. 2 hours from London. Yeah, but Crewe gone. Right, Prediction League this week. We do have, I've got 2 more prediction leagues left until the end of the season. So I've gone for a midweek one, our first on the last of the year. There is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 points up for grabs here. Fleetwood Wednesday, Sunderland, Rotherham, Portsmouth versus Wigan, Barnsley, Blackpool, Man United, Chelsea, and Swindon versus Forest Green. Forest Green, George, will be a competitor next season.
I heard that rumour, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Limited.
Is it another cold slap in the face of just how far we're sort of sinking? Like Forest Green, we should be playing Forest Green. Let's stay in the Premier League. We should be in the Premier League.
I mean, we should be beating Forest Green, but we should be beating Crewe. So I'm not going to comment too much today.
It's true. Roland Barnsley away in the Mick McCarthy derby. Lewis Robinson, who's winning League One Player Show Wednesday for me. Prediction League is in the chat. I have updated the league tables. It has all changed since the last time I showed these. They were 3 weeks out of date on yesterday. So now they're up to date. As you can see, lots still to play for. I think I worked out earlier something like 40 odd points left to play for, I think. I did write it down. I did try and be very, very thorough and prepared, George, but it's not quite come off. I think I might have ripped a bit of paper up. Anyway, you've got this midweek one and the end of the season. I think I worked out that if you were south of Ben King, so if you were Archie, Stannard and down, you kind of weren't going to be getting anywhere near the prize positions. So if you I don't know, you could prove me wrong, I guess, but still plenty to play for. Right, links in the chat. Get that involved. Free entry. Forest Green Rovers, Quorn Army, says Lewis Robinson. Just let that silence mellow and soak and marinate the room, friends. Josh Russell, all I'll say is I know more to be 100% be here next year. A little birdie told me. Captain Ben Darren. Hey, Gav, thanks for not thinking I was totally crazy talking to you in Tesco. Never. It was a brilliant thing to speak to. It was. I was walking along. I was buying a flop bunny for my son because I spoiled him rotten. And I was like, oh, we watch you. I was like, Brilliant. Love it when people say they watch me. It means I'm not talking to myself. We feel like we know you. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Honestly, thank you ever so much. Right, let's complete the lineup this evening. Lionel Von. I know you're somebody who gets stopped quite a lot, Lionel.
Yep, I am.
They see you coming and they walk the other way. That's what I hear.
Haven't quite got. It's quite a novel experience, but it's fun.
It is. It means you're not talking to yourself. You're not broadcasting to nobody. You know that because the numbers on the screen and whatnot show you, but you're frozen. But I'll bring it back in when you've unfrozen. But he has unfrozen. But it's just nice to know you're not broadcasting to oneself, right?
Yeah, it is definitely. It is a weird experience though. Like I had it a couple of weeks ago, Easter weekend. I was like stood at the bar having like none of my own business, and all I got was like, "You Alex and Talking Town." I was like, it's novel. It's
good man. George, last game of the season this weekend.
I've never been stopped, by the way.
No, well, they don't like you. No, I'm joking. They love you. I'm joking. That was a cruel joke. I'm very sorry.
Can I just really quickly shout out to Craig Chenery, who stopped me at the Phoenix Rising game, and is born and raised just outside Stowmarket, has been in Phoenix for years and years and years, but stopped me and said hello. And I don't know if he watches the show. I will mention it to him on Twitter, but shout out to him just in case.
Do you think this is Radio 2? What do you think this is? Give random shout outs. No,
I'm Radio 2. They're about 9 million. They're so long on Radio 2. We'd be here to like 12.
It's true. No, absolutely. Good shout, George. I was going to say, last game of the season this weekend coming. Is your season done, George, or are you making the trip down the A140?
Pilgrimage. No, I think I at the moment I think I am. I haven't made a final decision yet, but I'm very tempted to come down for the game. So
good
yeah,
man. Do it.
Soon.
Because you're only going to be 12 weeks without it, so make sure you get down there. You know, we're going to blow Charlton away. Scott Fraser's not going to do anything. Isn't that right, Alex?
That's if he's fit.
Well, he's not going to do anything, is he, Alex?
No, he won't be because like Stan Morsley will put a tackle in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, a reducer first minute. Yeah.
Kev Show, even all, thank you ever so much for more great chat discussion. Always entertaining. No problem, Kev. It's our pleasure. Owen, first time, long time taking requests. George Russell, get liking the stream. Yes, follow George's lead. Get liking the stream. Let's kick things off with Wesley Burns. League One, Team of the Year. The graphic I saw had him on the left side, but we'll ignore that. Team of the Year for Wesley Burns. Let's start with the positive. Kick it off with Wes. He's not put a foot wrong all year. Alex, talk to me about how good Wesley Burns has been.
He probably has been the signing of the season. He really has been. And I remember he was the first one of the 19, wasn't he? And everyone was a bit sort of underwhelmed by Wes coming in. So, you know, but he really has. Since he's moved out to that sort of wing-back role, it's just think where we'd be about him this year.
Well, yeah, absolutely, George. 10 goals, 6 assists, 9 big chances. Baller, as Josh Russell says in the chat.
Yeah, 100%. And I think priority, maybe not priority one, but joint priority one has got to be finding a left-sided Wes Burns for the summer. For me. But yeah, he's been great. Fair play to him. I think I have a chat with a couple of mates on WhatsApp that's called We Heart Wes. I think he's just like I say, baller. He's been great.
Friends that aren't Talking Town friends.
I have 2. Forgive me.
No, I'm not going to forgive you. Sorry. So I'm joking. I've missed you, George. It's been horrible without you on the platform for the holidays. Never take a holiday again. But no, I think you're right. But then, how do we find a left-sided Wes, Alex? Is it even possible tactically to have 2 Wes Burns? But is it tactically possible? Or are you going to be wide open?
I think so. If the 3 behind you are good enough to, do the defensive side of the game, then I think it is possible. I think the potentially in McKenna's thinking, the left side of Wes Burns may already be here.
Is he?
The rumor he's been positioning Carl Edwards to play there.
Carl Edwards at left wing back. George. Matt Phillips, good friends with Chris, our West Brom correspondent, been on the platform many times. When Matt suggested that to him, apparently Chris laughed Matt off the phone. What is it? Is it a season to be experimenting with an Edwards at a left wing back, or do you want to? Someone said Kenlock in the chat. I know the Fisherman's a big Miles Kenlock fan. I think his time here is done. But you never know. Stranger things in football have happened. You know, Carl Edwards for you? Is that
I don't think I've seen enough of him, to be honest, to make that call. I think it would be great if he could. He looked, you know, in flashes, he looks like there's something about him. So I'd be well up for trying him in that position if he can stay fit or comes back pre-season fit. But I don't think it will stop us trying to find a left wing back in the summer. I know we've been trying. It feels like we've been trying to fill that left-sided spot for years, albeit not necessarily in the same position specifically. But it feels almost like we found the left back that we were looking for a few years ago in Thompson, but Thompson's a left back and not a left wing back, so we look a bit lopsided at the moment to me. So I think that'll be.
We do. It's interesting. I mean, I keep souring on Edwards as a left wing back project, and I keep getting excited by the prospect. And then I wake up another day and I'm souring on it. I'm literally swaying in the wind on that. I've seen him make more tackles than crosses. I think he's a good player. Is he just my number one option? I'm not sure. But Wesley Burns has been an absolute joy to watch this year. He has arguably been one of the most exciting players I've seen in a Town shirt for many, many a year. He loves to take a man on. And when I'm sat in the Cobble Sand and when we're attacking the goal in the second half, it's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty just seeing him knock the ball past the defender and doing the old catch me if you can. And 9 times out of 10, they can't. And it's just beautiful. And he's had a great year. 10 goals, SofaScore says, but Josh Russell says it's 11. Who am I to argue with main man Josh? So 11 goals for Wes. Is it a fair expectation for next year to look similar? Is it a purple patch? Is it a player ascending? Because I've loved watching him, but you've got to ask, can he replicate it next year, George, or can he go better? Or what do you think about next year's aspirations?
I think it's his most prolific season so far. I did have a quick look earlier. I think it's far and away probably his most prolific season. I think he's only scored 14 goals in the entirety of the time.
Well, according to SofaScore, 5 goals last year, 2 the year before, and 7 the year before that. So,
but it doesn't look like it's going to be a flash in the pan kind of season to me. I think not taking anything away from him, I think it's as much down to the players around him. I think he obviously has a really good rapport with Donatian, and that's going to be key to the left-hand side as well, finding someone to play that with what I'm assuming will be Wolfenden down the left-hand side. But yeah, I don't think it will be a flash in the pan season for him. What is he, 27? So he's about the right age to be hitting
his prime, yeah.
So yeah, I think we might have got him right at the right time.
Yeah. Alex, people keep saying Miles Kenlock to me in the chat. Legacy Bates, get Kenlock back, more goals, more assists than both our wing backs. Miles Kenlock this year, total played 19, started 18, 3 goals, 1 assist. Is there a way back for Miles Kenlock, like some are suggesting in the chat?
Possibly, because the only argument you've got is that the decision for him not to be in our squad wasn't McKenna's. So, but I think McKenna will bring him back and have a look at him, possibly. But I do think if we've got the ambitions that we all need to have, I do think we can possibly do better than Miles Kenlock at left wing back.
Would it surprise you if I told you he's 25 now?
Possibly not, because he's been around for when he break in 18, 19, it feels like he's been around forever.
So is he what he is going to be at this point? 25, there's still room to grow, of course, but he's 25. He's not 19 anymore, George. I'm not quite sure if it's a romantic, novel idea. They're going to go out on loan, recapture form, come back and be this special player. I'm not sure if Mike's seen something I haven't. What are your thoughts on Kenlock, as some are suggesting?
I think Kenlock's one of those that could probably do with a fresh start. He's 25. Like I say, he needs game time. He needs games. I'm not sure that he'll be moulded into the left wing back, the kind of left wing back that we need. I still think he could be a decent left back. Don't get me wrong. I like Martin Kenlock, I always have, but I think, like you said earlier, his time has probably come at Ipswich.
Alex, before we move on from Wesley, I know it's difficult. We could probably do a whole hour on Wes. I know I'd love to actually, that might be an interesting show at some point. Not a whole hour on Wes, but to sort of do a watch along review of what the transfer shows were in the summer. So to watch them and then sort of do a watch along, because I think that's the more interesting one for me, Alex, because I don't remember it, but that probably speaks more for how we viewed it at the time.
No, the one I remember is when Joe Pickett came in. Everyone thought that Joe Pickett was going to be our 20-goal season.
See, it could be hilariously good fun.
And I remember everyone laughed at Matt Phillips when Matt Phillips said that Macaulay Bonne was going to be our top goal scorer.
Yeah, he still could. That's how much of a strange season it's been, Alex. He still could be our top goal scorer, and he hasn't scored since what it feels like since the season started.
No, and the thing is, with what Crunch said on Saturday, I don't think Wes will play on Saturday. So that's his closest competition gone. So, but then will he play on Saturday?
Chaplin's got to be up there, right? How many has Chaplin got? 11 now.
He's pushing it. Yeah,
8.
Connor Chaplin is pushing it. No, he's got I think he's 2 away from memory. So he's going to have to dig in deep against Charlton and have a great afternoon. Go to Ipswich Town. Here we go. Bear with. Your call is important to us. You're right in a queue. Connor Chaplin's on 10. Burns on 11. Bonne on 12. I don't think Burns will play at the weekend. So Burns is on what he's on. You're right, Josh. 3 points to you. 3 points, Gryffindor. Bursant's on 6. Norwood's on 5. And then you got Morsey, Jackson, Evans, Aluko, and beyond. Pickett's got 2 goals. Christ. Does he? I don't remember him scoring 1, let alone 2.
He scored Burton, I think, possibly.
That was an own goal, wasn't it?
Burton, I think they gave it to him in the end.
Oh, a pity goal. It's a pity goal. Oh, that's harsh. Josh, how wrong is Sofa score? Absolutely. Dan Sutton will be high hopes, which is Town fans again next season. McKenna will have more pressure on him this time due to being his team. Yeah. 12 months to save their job? Is that...
They've already lost Mike. Mike's out.
I saw that. I saw that. That cracked me up yesterday.
Talk to me then. Expectation level from game 1. What's it going to be? I suppose for every individual, it's different. For me, it's going to be inside the top 6 from game 4 onwards. I'll give them 4 games grace. But from that point, I want to be looking like contenders, strong team, consistent team, righted the wrongs from this year, and playing the same way, but scoring goals, and not conceding sloppy goals like Saturday. It's a great finish, but why has the geezer got the grace of midfield on the edge of my 18-yard box? Only 3 weeks after the Shrewsbury fella had the grace of my midfield to score a goal. I want to cut that out. But what about you two? More importantly, George, what's your expectation for McKenna and Ashton and their SOS?
I have high expectations.
Stupid, doesn't it?
I have high hopes. I want to say realistic expectations, but I would love for us to be in and around the top 2. I expect us to be in and around the top 6 throughout the season. I'm not sure that 12 months to save their jobs is quite right. I think if we have a
It
similar,
wasn't me, by the way.
No,
I
no,
wasn't
I know.
saying that.
If we have a similar first 2/3 of the season to what we had this year, then of course. But if the luck doesn't go our way for whatever reason, then who knows? It's not necessarily because the manager's as bad as Paul Cook was that you're in that position after that amount of time in a season. So I don't think it's quite as straightforward. It's never quite as straightforward as X months or games to save your job, unless you're bottom of the league and losing way very rapidly. But I think, I expect us to be in and around the top 6. But ask me again when our transfer window is done.
I will. This is all early expectation or early.
Sure.
No one's going to hold you to this one. But okay, you said in and around top 6. So let's just pluck and give me a number between 8 and 24.
What?
12. 12. So after 12 games, if you're sitting in 9th, 5 points outside the top 6, where are you? Are you shaky? Are you steady? Because where are you on that? If that's the scenario, and you want to be in and around the top 6 from all season.
I'd be expecting us to start being a bit shaky if we're 5 points out after that many games.
So you wouldn't hold the course at that point. You would start to be maybe back this year.
Only about the season. That's not me saying. I wouldn't be knocking on McKenna's door saying win the next 6 games or you're in for the chop necessarily. I think it depends why we are where we are.
You wouldn't be knocking
on his door.
Might
have 5 games in hand. There might be another COVID.
But you could knock on his door.
It's too expensive to go all the way over there again and forget why I went.
I'm going to have some fun with that picture. Alex, what about you? What are your expectations for McKenna?
I think we need a good start. I think that will be key. I'd like to see a sort of top end of the playoff, shall we say? I'm happy with that. Mm-hmm. And then progress by like 3rd, 4th, possibly. And as long as we're in touch with, that top 2, then I'll take that, because obviously you've got to remember that teams are coming down as well, and it depends on what business they do with the teams that come down as to where we fall in that.
Okay, so in touch with the top 2. So after 18 games, if you're 7 points outside the top 2 but in the top 6, are you steady? Are you shaky? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm steady with that, because at the end of the day, you're in those positions where you have a chance. I think it's a different conversation if you're saying, like we said with George, where you're 8th, 9th, or whatever. But if you're still in that top 6 where you've got a chance of getting promoted, then that's cool. And I think I think I'd be a lot more steady with someone like a Kieran McKenna in charge, knowing what he's done and what he's capable of, than, let's say, this year when we had Paul Cook in charge that didn't seem to know what. It seems like McKenna's got a plan. You've only got to listen to him when he came out on Saturday and said, I already know where we potentially need to strengthen him. So it almost, whereas it kind of felt like a bit like Paul Cook was like, we'll work hard, we'll put our finger in there and we'll hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you weren't a fan of Paul Cook or George, so I'm not going to go into that one.
I was, but then, there's only so many times you can say, we're going to work hard, we're going to work again, I don't trust the player, blah, 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 blah. It's exactly what Milk Tray said. It's exactly what Ben said. He had used up all his credit by the time that this season started, whereas McKenna has got that credit and that trust in the bank.
Yeah, fair point. Legacy Bates, really, isn't that what was said about Penny, Coulson and Thompson? Andy Barrell, he knows what's needed and has now got to be ruthless enough and decisive enough to build this team. We finished 5 wins and 1 less loss to be up there this season. It's the bloody draws that have killed us. Lewis Robertson has helped people become YouTube members. We appreciate you, Lewis, and we appreciate you, the Durrants, for wanting to become YouTube members. I mean, penny against Wimbledon for the Pig. Craig, Piggott's goal at Burton was an own goal. I thought it was. It's up here for thinking, down there for dancing. Rob Holmes, we need a good start and be floating around top 3 all season. Owen Griffiths, Edmondson Has been a big miss last few games, it has to be said. Top 6 bare minimum. Simon Harris, we will only improve if we bring in 8 or 9 decent players into the team. Bear that thought in mind, Alex. I've seen that phase change. I'll come back to you. Current squad and a long way away from promotion material. Owen, was that a genius? Not saying anything. Mike D, Guillotine will be sharpening his blade if he has the same start as this season. I haven't said anything, Mike. The Guillotine is hopefully being retired. Alex, you didn't agree with Mr. Harris there. 8 or 9 players is what you think.
Not for me. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think if you bring in 8 or 9, you risk breaking up the cohesion that started to be formed here already. You know,
if it is 8 and 9, who's he dropping out, Alex? Because Walton, you would have thought, is your number 1 goalkeeper.
I think possibly we're going on the assumption that none of the loanees will stay. So that's Selena gone, that's Bond gone, that's Thompson gone. So that's 3.
Yeah, but to have 8 or 9 new players, and I'm guessing that's first team players, that would only leave, if it's 8, 3 players from the current 11.
Yeah,
well, Wolverton and Burns is the 3, I would guess.
You're looking at your Joe Pigotts, your Matt Pennies, and those ilk of players would be, but obviously not knowing where Simon's thinking's coming from. I can't speak for him, but that's the only way that I can see sort of 8 or 9. But I think if you take apart the squad to that level, you then risk breaking up what team spirit is there already, and then the horrible G word starts being floated about again, doesn't it? So
don't say it.
For me, I would go 3 or 4. I think 8 or 9 would be overkill personally, but
okay.
It's my
I think if you put the squad down on paper, and I only say this because I have, and go through who you think are key players to the team with and without loanees, my gut instinct, and who you think can stay or go, and who you think should just go. My instinct is that to make a good enough squad, not first 11, because a lot of the ones that would stay would make the first 11 at the moment. I think you're not far off. I said 4 to 6 the other day, I think on the show through the chat, but
you did.
I think it could be 8. I think it could be 8 if the likes of Backinson and Selena don't stay. If looking through it, I mean, there are players in there that other people would argue should stay, probably, that I would not be so keen on, or not fussed if they left. But yeah, I think backup goalkeeper, left wing back, at least 2 central midfielders, 2 attacking midfielders if Selena doesn't stay, and probably 3 strikers.
Mm-hmm. You say if Selena doesn't stay,
mm-hmm.
Obviously he was robbed of the goal of the year.
Yeah, that first touch was worth goal of the year. It doesn't matter if it goes in after that. The goal of the year was just a hoik from outside of the box.
Yeah. And
anyway, yeah.
Would you keep him? Would you keep him?
Yeah.
If it's down to you, you would.
Yeah. All day long.
All day long. Okay. Dan said the big question is, what information has Ashton come back with from America? Funds, ground, players, salaries. No, he's not. He's not flickered. He's not flickered. ITK.
He's asking about Ashton, not me. I wasn't in the room. I was there a week too early. If they told me, I could have stuck around. There was a spare seat.
You got your diary all wrong.
Mark said to me, Ashton's out next week. I was like, well, yeah, just next time.
Mark now, Alex. See that Mark told me.
They're all called Mark, so you don't know who I mean.
That's true. Mark, exactly. Mark will unbelievable stupid if McKenna is set up the next season. If things going to go as planned, to give the guy time. 8 or 9 in squad, so sorry, he's qualified it. Strikers, 2 strikers, 1 left wing back, 1 right wing back, and 1 central midfielder. What would you do about the back 3? Because I'm not quite sure Burgess, for all he's been fantastic and he has been very, very, very good, is he progressive enough, George, in the system he kind of wants to play and going across the halfway line? Are we limited a little bit by his limitations?
What? Limited by his limitations? Yes. By definition, but I think Wolfenden's done a really good job of picking up that kind of periodic marauding run that Edmondson did. But I think Burgess has been great, but I think the back 3 on current or this season's form will be Donacien, Edmondson, and Wolfenden, failing any, big signing at centre back. But with Burgess, as has proved himself to be more than adequate backup. If those four are still here next season, then I think that's probably one of the lowest priorities on the list of who needs to come in, especially with Baggett as well, for getting him.
Yeah, and obviously Corey and Darbuck to come back from.
And Baggett didn't look even remotely out of place when he played. He was the one highlight from the game week before last. Really, for me, I thought he was great. Looked completely at home where he was. So yeah, I think centre back's a position that I'm really not worried about. But I think the starting three is JD, Wolfenden, and Fridge.
Lewis Robinson, Alex, is Donacien progressive enough on the right side? Great defender, but uncomfortable on the ball at times. I have often echoed those thoughts, particularly post game myself, a number of times. How do you see it, Mr. Wilson?
I think on the basis of this year, and looking at what JD done and the trajectory he's been on, I think he's he's nowhere near the chopping block for me. If we can get somebody better than him, then by all means go out and strengthen him. But at the same time, if you said to me that we weren't going to strengthen and JD was here next year, I'm good with that. I'm cool with that.
Is it a little bit of picking for picking sense, in the sense of you're trying to make it perfect when you don't need to, Alex? Because
and I think what you've got to remember is, if you're going to want Wes Burns to play how Wes Burns plays, you need someone in the ilk of a Donacien to pick up, to sort of, take that defensive responsibility off Wes Burns.
Yeah, and that's where you don't go to the back four as well.
It's good if he can be progressive, but that's not his primary role in the team.
Yeah, and I think what George was sort of starting to say there in terms of in-game flexibility with Donacien's ability to go from centre half to right back to centre half, it gives you in-game management opportunities to switch and change and not have a player out of position or madly out of position. So is that, if we're saying 8 or 9 players to come in, is it actually Walton, Donacien, Wolfenden, and Edmondson? Is that actually a foundation we've actually got there, George? Is that?
I think so. Yeah, I include Burgess and Baggett in that foundation too, because as has been proven over the last couple of months, we need those guys to step in for when we have suspensions, which we seem to have more of this season than we have in previous seasons, and injuries, which have been a bit better this season, but have all come at once at the end. But yeah, I think Burgess and Baggett are as key to that back line as anyone, because somebody needs to be able to step in, and those guys, again, more so probably than a lot of other positions that have been swapped around more this season, have seemed like just a natural. They've just slotted straight in without skipping a beat, which has been great. Whereas swapping some of the midfielders around, and it just hasn't felt as cohesive as I suspect Kieran McKenna might have liked it to have done.
Yeah. I haven't really looked at it as a foundation before. So yeah, and you got, as you say, Ndaba and Elkin still there as well. Neil Perks, Thompson in the bin, and Penny, we need better. Somewhere Lewis Robinson is crying at people having a go at Matt Penny. He's a big fan. Jason Clayton, Donacien is in our top 5 for assists. Surely Mike Baker, Town should be building a team that rolls this tin pot league. Good enough for the championship, then build with the prim in their sights. Simon Harris, and a 4 at the back. Burns right wing, still need a quality left winger. Edwards lacking the consistency to be a starter for me. Roy Clark's loving what you're saying, George. Totally agree, George. Procrastinating Womble is on a tin pot league. Is the one we are in, and if it is, we are tin pot at the moment. I see the argument from both sides of the coin. I'll let them battle that out. Every great team needs a foundation, needs a solid centerpiece. And a team that was absolutely amazing was the 91-92. It's the anniversary today. It's bringing Colin Plum. Colin, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks, Gob. Yeah, fine. Thank you. Man. Hello, George.
Before we go on to the anniversary team and you tell us your thoughts and your memories of a great team and a great era, tell me in your own words, in your own way, in the GOAT way, what's got to change at Portman Road next year for the current lot?
Well, I kind of agree with some things that's been said this evening and disagree with others. I'm a great believer that, I don't think too much needs change. And I personally, if I had to do anything, I would be looking obviously at the left. It's been said time and time again, but I think, the left wing back, stroke full back on the left-hand side needs sort, and there's no doubt about that. We definitely need a goal scorer, what I call a goal scorer, a midfield player, a la somebody like Colin Viljohn, Matt Holland, that kind of guy who can get you 10, 15 goals a season from midfield. I mean, the likes of Viljohn, Morris, Holland. I ain't going to include Walker; he'd be in a different league. But those kind of players I've just mentioned, people like Viljohn, that they were getting your 8 to 10, 11, 12 goals from midfield every season. 8 to 10 anyway. And our forwards are struggling to get that. So that's the kind of player I'd want in there. Cost you a little bit of money, but probably get you promotion, Guff.
Tell George, get on the blower. Get on the blower to his pencil mark. Get the checks cashed. Okay, Colin, 91, 92. You're writing a book for those that don't know at home. Keep your eyes peeled for that hitting bookshelves eventually. So I'm sure you're going to dedicate a large part of that book to a great team. Tell us about the 91, 92 for those that perhaps were of a young age that didn't know their greatness when they were a great team.
Well, you're quite right. I've been trying to hide it a little bit, but I did start actually writing this pre my really bad illness, and I put it away and went under a few pairs of jeans kind of thing. And I said to Venetia, "Where's that paperwork gone?" And she found it, and because I've started again, so I had written. I don't know what it was, 7, 8 chapters, something like that before I was ill. Obviously, that got put on the back burner for quite a while, and I'm now in sync again, and at the moment I'm up to 2006-07 season, having started at 1964 season. So when I started going, so. I've got a little bit of paperwork out here, Gav, from which you actually asked me to do today, and I've been a good boy and got it out.
Thank you.
So 1 or 2 little bits from the 1991 to I don't know how you want me to do this, Gav.
However you want. You are the GOAT. You decide how you want to.
Yeah, but it's your show, and I appreciate that.
So
my title, my headline for the 91-92 season was "What a Season That Was." And I started off by saying, well, fellow Town fans, after a quite average season at best the previous season, we were to be treated to an unbelievable season in 91-92. That was for sure. We had more or less the same squad, apart from Gale going to Sheffield United and Holmes, who moved on to Wrexham. Everything else was more or less the same. The only difference was everybody just clicked. Not really a surprise, because John Lyle was such a good coach. And boy, was we going to see it this particular season. The season started off at Bristol Rovers, a game that I'll try and go away from that for a while. A game that I remember very, very well away from home. We were 3-0 up, and absolutely coasting in that game. And then a man who we all know came onto the scene in the second half down at Bristol Rovers. I think Gov knows who I'm going to say. A very, very young Marcus Stewart. and he basically changed the game, and it finished up 3-3, and but. It was. I'll tell you what it was. I mean, I'm not going to continue to keep reading from there because I want to say it as I remember it.
Yeah, good.
That season was what I call. If you look at the results of that season, it'll be on Wikipedia, whatever you call it. You'll see it was what I really call a very up and down season. There was what you call it, little clutches of. Like a few wins, and then a few draws, and then a few defeats, and then another few draws, and then quite a few wins. And it was that kind of season nearly all the way through. And I remember, because my father was still alive then, and God rest his soul. And I remember saying to Dad, when we went to games, if we can, just keep this, going kind of thing, because obviously the wins were, percentage-wise, were a lot more than the defeats and the draws. But it was a very, very up and down kind of season. It wasn't like the win, draw, lose, win, draw. It was rather up and down. But what I will say about that season, the previous season, I think we finished, and like I say, I'm not reading this now at all. I think we finished about 13th or 14th, which was not very good at all, really. But Lyle, he did something that close season. He got everybody more, together, and they were a great set of lads. I mean, to look at them, they weren't probably what you call like a sexy football side, but they had what John had, and he was a very, very good coach. What John had, he had, the right, obviously the right,
man management.
The right cogs in the right places of the wheel, and people like Thompson. Not the one we've just been talking about. Obviously, we know we're talking about Neil Thompson. I mean, he had a left foot to die for. Craig Forrest, who obviously goes though really well. Would I call him a great goalkeeper? No, I would call him a very good goalkeeper. And of course, your spine. You had Linnigan. You had obviously Walker at the back, who came back for about the 8 millionth time. And of course, you had Frankie Yallop, and then of course through the midfield, you had Romeo and Zondervan. You had people like Gavin Johnson. You had Sarge Goddard in midfield, who was getting on, but he was, again, John knew him really well from West Ham, and he brought him in, and he was really good apparently with the younger lads. And of course, then you had Kawamia. And yeah, Jason, and I can't remember. Look, I'd be lying if I can't remember what. I think Chris got about whatever it was, 16, 17 that season. Jason got about the same, I think. Goddard got maybe, I don't know what it was, 8 or 9 or whatever from his position, and of course then you had Stevie Whitten, who scored a lot of goals. Yes, go.
Lewis Robertson asks, looking at the 91-92, what would we give for a Gavin Johnson now? Very underrated player whose career was ruined by injury. Best of luck with the book.
Oh, Gavin Johnson. I mean, I know him fairly well. I mean, he finished up down, he played till gone 40 down at Barry Town. And I remember Russell telling me once, Russell Ward, the chairman, he said that he was one of the fittest 40+ year olds he'd ever known, and he was playing. Actually, he was playing. Look, I would give everything for a Gavin Johnson. I mean, he was a Suffolk lad, born I think near Stow Langtoft somewhere, and he always knew his roots. He played obviously for Ipswich. He played for Bury. He played for Stowmarket when he was a lot older, and he was just one of those players that he was always in the 11. He was hardly ever injured. Always turned up and gave his 100%. He was what we class as a 7 out of 10. And I'll never forget that season. Oh my goodness, when we drew Liverpool. So we drew Liverpool, and that was when Jan Mulvey and that was playing for Liverpool. We drew them in the FA Cup, and we actually played the first game. It was on telly, and down at Portman Road. And that was windy as anything. I'll never forget it. And I think it was 0-0. And the wind completely ruined the game. And then in them days, you replayed the next following week, And I think we went up
with such passion that I think the book is going to be a huge success, and many people in the chat are excited to read it. George, Alex, is it a time you remember well, George?
No, I was 12, so I think that was my first season of kind of going semi-regularly. I remember being there for the last home game of the season. Vaguely remember being there for the last home game of the season and being there as part of for the celebrations. I had a look earlier and dug out this, which is for the younger against us.
I've got a blue one.
What we used to get our season tickets in, and that's my first season ticket. That was 92-93. So, it obviously.
Can I just say, I'm really sorry, George, to interrupt you, but me and my dad, for several seasons, and the older viewers will remember this. We actually had red ones for quite a while, and I believe now, I'm not saying I'm right, because there was grey ones, there was yellow ones, there was red ones, quite a bit.
Blue ones.
I think, yeah, blue ones. And I think we had a red one the season we beat Man United 6-0, but I might be wrong. Probably am. But then we did have red ones. I always used to say to Dad, what on earth have we got red season ticket holders for? What on earth is that all about? But but it didn't affect how we played. Anyway, going back to the 91-92 season, Gov, I've got to say this. That season, Cambridge gave us a lot of problems that season. They finished fifth, I remember, and they beat us at home early doors, about the fifth or sixth game. They beat us 2-1 at Portman Road for about 27,000, and then we drew down there later on in the season 1-1. I remember Simon scored down there, I believe it was. And one thing I've got to say is when we got nearer the end of the season, obviously there was a couple of games I've got to mention. And like I say, I'm not reading this. You probably see that. A couple of games I've really got to mention. Rich will love this. The first one was the Southend away game. Oh my God! I mean, that was when Roots you had a lot of open end at Southend. Then there's loads of our lot down there, and that was really quite a hot day that day. And Thompson and Phil Whelan scored. A bloke who never's mentioned very often, Phil Whelan. I think it was his father, was it his grandfather or somebody also played for Ipswich? But anyway, Whelan came in late in the season, and he had a really good end of the season, he did, Phil Whelan, and he scored at Southend, and we won 2-1 down there. And that was a catalyst, really, to us going on. But the game I really want to speak about is when we got up. We went to Oxford, which was the old Manor Ground. I'm so disappointed I got COVID this year, because if you remember, that was the game I missed, Oxford, because I got COVID. And I've still not been to their new ground. But I went to the old Manor Ground, and that was a funny old, I don't know if you've ever been, but that was a funny old shaped ground. And behind the goal again, a lot of grounds in them days had what we class as open terrace ends, no roofs. And again, I think that was quite sunny that day, and we was behind the goal. And again, like we was talking about Bristol earlier on, a certain Jim Magilton opened the scoring. And And then, George, your man, or Gavin Johnson, got the equaliser and got us up. And we all went on the pitch. There weren't keep off. The police and the stewards, they knew it was going to happen. They weren't never going to stop it. And of course, there was no problems or trouble or anything like that. We all went on, and me and Dad, we went on the pitch, and because of that, and there was a lot of our lot down there. I remember saying to Dad, when we went home, the players couldn't really celebrate not properly. I mean, you had Giselle on people's shoulders, this and the other. But they didn't really celebrate because there were so many people on the pitch. But that was a fantastic journey home, and of course that was all finished when we played. Was it Brighton? I think it was. Yeah, Brighton last game of the season. We won 3-1. I mean, I think it was 27,000 that day, and it was. I've had those days before. I'm lucky. I admit that. I'm lucky. I've had those days before when we've got in the cup finals, or we've won it, like for example, like when we was 3-1 up at West Brom. I know it was late, but you'd won and all that, and you can kind of enjoy it. But that game against Brighton was on a different level because we knew we was in the Premier League, the new Premier League, before they even come out, because they presented the trophy before the game to David Linnigan and the medals and stuff.
Wow.
And John Lyle got the Manager of the Year before the game, and because it was, look, I've often said to you, Gavin, about playing free, relaxed football. Now, I mentioned that the other day about like playing Shrewsbury and playing Crewe, and sometimes some people, and that's only a small percentage, some people don't understand that. But when you play teams this time of the season and they haven't got nothing to play for, and that they play what I call free football, and they're dangerous. And that day when our last game of the season, we played obviously free football. We knew we was up. We knew we won a league, and we won 3-1, and it was just a celebration from second one to whatever it was, 92nd minute, and then they went up at the top of the middle of the Pioneer stand and got the trophy again, so to speak, and then we all celebrated again. So that's brilliant.
As we sort of round up, if you could take one player from that team and put it in today's team, it could be any reason you want. You think his skill may transcend into the modern game. He's just a great player, whatever it might be. But if you could take one player and put it into today's team, which player would you choose and why?
Gov, I'm going to be an absolute naughty little boy. I'm going to ask you if I can have two, because I'd be unfair. Because I'd be unfair to the other one.
All right. Mike D says Neil Thompson.
Actually, I would have three.
Now you're trying to take the mick.
No, because I'd never do that to you. One, I'd have John Walk, absolute club legend. I don't care. I can't even remember how old he was at the time. Mid to late 30s. John Walk, read the game. Look, I always say certain players a yard quicker in here. He was 2, right? Yeah, so John Walk, one of the greatest midfield players this club has ever had, and arguably probably in the top 10 centre halves. To be fair to him. So you'd have John Walk. I cannot not have Romeo Zondervan, because he was top notch. Top notch. Again, another yard in here, could break the lines, could score a goal, and we all love Dutch. And my God, I'd give anything to have another Dutch player on our side. So I'd have John, I'd have Romeo Zondervan, and I would also have Jason Dezelle. Jason Dezelle was just quality. I mean, he had everything. He had a pass in his head. He had a little, he lacked a little bit of pace. Yeah, we all know that. But He could score a goal whenever. And he like Walkie, was one of these players who played better in the bigger game. And that always tells you a top player. You get somebody like, and I don't want Rich or anybody else to go, oh, he goes, go. But you get somebody like Arnold Mirren, right? Somebody like Arnold Mirren. Arnold Mirren always played well in the big games, because big players play well in big games. That's what we've got to install into our team at a lower level. We've got to get players into our side who can tip the balance and who can win a game for you. You know, when you play a ball into somebody's feet on the edge of the box, you know that player is going to turn that player probably 70% of the time, and that will finish in top bins. That's what we've got to do. We've got to find players, because look, at every level, you get players at every level, at the Premier League, Championship, First Division or Second Division. In any one of those leagues, at different levels, you will get players who can turn a game. And we absolutely need that kind of player in our side. And I think if we get those kind of players at our level in Division 1 for next season, I think we'll be fine.
Do you know, it is such an honour to sit. We're so privileged, friends, to have someone like Colin who can tell us in such passion and vigour just how great the times were. Alex, do you think you'll ever see players like that at Portland Road again?
I would hope so. You know, I was a little bit after that, so I don't remember.
You're like me.
92 at all. I think I didn't turn up from 95, and I remember the first game I came to, played on, or fans on the pitch for the other reason. But
yeah, Duncan,
that's my era. But you know, I totally get, you know, what Colin said about feeling lucky, because you know, the way I look at it, I got to see the couple of years we were fighting top half of what was Division 1 into the playoffs, and then I got to see, you know, the first year in the Prem, and you know the European tour. You know, so for me that is, you know, but I would hope that, you know, I think if you look at our ownership and where we're going and what they want to do, I think if we've got an ownership that can bring those times back, I think it'll be this ownership.
Yeah.
You know, so I
think
this could be. You say, you know, I'm not going to be presumptuous and say when, you know, because I don't think that's respectful to the other, you know, other teams we play. But you know, I think if any ownership and any group can bring the good time back, I believe it's this group.
Okay, absolutely. Lewis Robinson, 1799. Thank you very much, Lewis, for being a YouTube member and your continued support with a super chatio. Could I ask that if you're a season ticket holder and not used your free ticket for a game this season, that you see if anyone in the chat or the TT community might benefit from a free ticket? If you are somebody who has a free ticket to give and you'd like somebody to benefit, if you want to email me, and if you're somebody who wants a free ticket and wants to email me, we'll try and get something sorted out where people can try and find each other, etc., etc. I know I've still got to use mine. So, George, if you've not yet bought your ticket, I've got you a ticket. And Kat and Ben Durrant have become YouTube members. Welcome home. Welcome to family, Kat and Ben. Thank you very much for becoming YouTube members. Colin, over to you. Yes, my friend.
Could I just say, I just forgot about somebody who I really like to mention, and not because he played for my hometown club, Bury Town. I'd like to give a big shout out to Simon Milton, and what a person, he turned out to be. I mean, he didn't sign for Ipswich Town until 1987. He had a little bit of a trial period, but he actually signed in 1987, which is only only 4 or 5 years before we actually got that promotion. And, he came, he'd been playing for Thetford. He went to Bury Town. He played for Bury for a couple of years, whatever it was. And then he got a trial, and Bobby Ferguson, I think, watched him first of all. And he went to Town. Now, he finished up, playing nearly 300 games for Town. He had after that, he obviously had quite a long time there working in the offices, doing this, that, and the other. And he was at the club for a long time. But his playing career, from a player, that just goes to show young players out there in Suffolk and maybe, Essex or whatever, never, ever to give up, because Simon came out of Bury Town side, signed for Ipswich in 1987. Excuse me. More or less, under John Duncan, more or less went into second-tier football from what would then have been maybe the Eastern Counties League. I can't remember exactly what league they were in at the time, but went more or less into second-tier football, and within 5 years-ish, he was playing in the Premier League. Now, that just goes to show to any young lad who's listening, because I know I was talking to a couple of young lads, and one of them, who's on my coach, is actually in the academy. He's 11 years of age. Cameron, his name is. He might be watching this maybe tomorrow morning or whatever. Cameron, there is your model, if you like, of you to go on, or you or anybody else, younger boys or girls. It just goes to show that it can be done. And Simon went from absolute non-league to playing at Old Trafford and Anfield. A big shout out to Simon, because, and not only that, that season we're talking about, 92, he scored quite, can't remember what he got, might have got 11, 12. I mean, he scored quite a few goals that season, Simon, and he was very integral in our promotion. And he deserves a real big shout out. Fantastic bloke, and when he used to walk around Bury, even when we was in the Premier League, he used to always stop and talk to everybody, and he's a model pro. Simon, model pro.
He is. Colin, when will the book be out, do you think?
Oh, look! Don't rush me, Gov. No, honestly, I've actually got my.
Now we're all, we want more. We want lost to a light.
I'm on the 2006-07 season. So
where are you going to win? Where's your cut-off point? Where are you going to say that's volume 1? Volume 2 will be the relegation years.
See, I had a certain person who had obviously a certain person who you probably know who that is. I told quite a while ago, and he said to me, so I'm more or less. Obviously, when I started, obviously it's more difficult when you're, the 7 years to 10 years old kind of thing. I put like a couple of 3 seasons in one chapter, but since you can remember vividly, I have put different seasons as chapters, and like I say, I'm on 2006 and 7, and that particular person, he said to me, but what are you going to do during the Evans year? Surely you ain't going to write much about that. I said, well, that remains to be seen. I will write. It's going to be. It hasn't got difficult as yet, because, like for example, the next chapter that I'm writing, I can see it right in front of me. I've actually done the headline and not written a word. It's Super Jim Majul. It's entitled Super Jim Majul in that chapter.
Well, I reckon you want to get Rich on the case for that chapter. I know he's quite close to that managerial reign. Andy Barrow with a £10 super chatio. Thank you very much, Andy.
Can I ask you a question, Gav? Can you remember the? No, I'm not being rude at all. Can you remember the Joe Royal era?
Yes,
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. I've just written that chapter about the Joe Raw years, and without giving too much away, because obviously I don't want to do that, but at the end of that, I actually wrote, and this is only my opinion, obviously, because I'm writing the book. I was really sad to see him go.
Yeah, likewise.
Really sad. Because I'll tell you what, that man, Big Joe, I'll tell you what, under the circumstances as they were at that particular time, he done a tremendous job. He really did. And I was really sad to see him go. Was I? Look, I weren't sad to see Jim get the job. I was just sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Because the football under Joe was probably as good as we've seen in a long, long while. Wouldn't you agree, Gov?
Yeah. Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. But we are wondering now. We are wondering. Procrastinate. No.
Yeah.
Womble says, Mr. Colin Plum, I hope you're doing an audio version for all this. Yes, he is doing an audio version. It's going to be read by me. I'm going to read the audio version for you all. You'll fall asleep too in your beds listening to Colin Plum's book, and I'm going to read it for you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the book by Colin Plum. Deb Chilvers, love big. I'm just auditioning now for you, Colin. Colin, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for stopping by and sharing those memories with us. And I'm going to see you Saturday, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you at the You are at the Player of the Year, dude.
Yeah, could you book my ticket?
Awesome. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Got that in there.
Absolutely.
I will see you Saturday. Look after yourself.
And also, just one to go away with, which I know you're going to laugh about. I'm coming on the train.
Oh, Christ. We love you, Colin. Look after yourself, my man. Oh, I love Colin. He's coming on the train. That means he'll be after the Freddie Sears. Pints and points. It's been a great show. I've really enjoyed tonight's show. We've not covered a couple of topics like we had, but I've really, really enjoyed it. Alex, you didn't want to commit to seeing the Great Times return. Lewis Robinson says the greatest greatest chapter has yet to be written. We've got to believe that, haven't we?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think, if the good times are coming back, if you look at this ownership and the way they talk and the way they deliver what they said they're going to, I think if any ownership team has got the clout to bring it back, then it's this one.
Absolutely. There's a chat going on in the chat, George, about I don't know what in terms of the fisherman. I think it's Miles Kenlock still. I'll have debates I didn't expect to be reading tonight for 200, please. Milt's a great seven, says Trevor Amos. Have you got any other season ticket card stubs, George?
I think I can only find 4. There's a bit of a gap. The other ones I found were I can't remember, 95, 96, 96, 97, and 97, 98, and then I went to uni after that. So
I love the little books you used to get in like the
I know, I didn't keep the empty stubs.
Yeah,
I threw that bit away, or my mum did. But yeah.
If only we knew now, George, what we didn't know then in regards to value of items and memorabilia and whatnot.
I don't think it's worth anything.
I'm not going to read that comment out, Mike. Deb Chilvers, my son was an academy got me in Joe Royal's time, and good memories on the show tonight. Worldly, we aim to please, and we've got 2 specials coming out with Romeo's on the van and Craig Forest. So keep those eyes out. They are 2 specials you won't want to miss. There's a third, but I'm not going to say anything just yet. Hey, TT, moving. But Alex, George, we've done it. We've made the end of the show. This is the end of the show, as Ant and Deck would say. It's been a pleasure. The season is nearly over. One last question to you both. One-word answers, and then we will depart. What do you want to see on Saturday from the lads? Do you want to see young players, or do you want to see main team 3 points go out and end on the high? Alex first.
I want to see a positive result, because I think just to go out on hopefully what will be a sunny day, you know, so we'll see. I'm not really sure what I want to see. As long as it's a good day and people have fun and, you know, looking forward to next season, then that's what really matters.
George?
One word. Goals.
Goals. Oh, I like that.
In what end?
Oh. Well, I might have to end with Craig from Portsmouth, where with his famous. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to do it. Just because you've brought goals up, we're going to end with Craig from Portsmouth. Have I deleted it? I might have deleted.
You just changed the overlay.
I know. I'm going through my cards. That's why. See, now you're seeing the behind the scenes effect.
The sausage is made.
Oh, here we go. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. We love you. Last word from Craig.
This is going to be the most entertaining season at Ipswich. Joe Royals.